So here's how I made my own Nadja doll for my Nadja cosplay outfit from What We Do in the Shadows. And it's very hard to find a Nadja doll online. There is one creator on Etsy who has actually made one. It's fantastic, but it's out of my price range. And this was just for my costume. So I found this doll from TJ Maxx. It's just a little soft sculpt doll. She kind of looks like Wednesday. And she had yarn pigtails, and I just took those apart. They were, just simple. I thought to do a wig for her, but I couldn't really find a wig small enough to cut down, and I didn't have time to order like a doll wig. So I did something different for her hair. I'll show you guys later in this video. I wanted to make her a new dress to kind of cover her body and give her more of a Nadja doll look. So I had this spider cloth. It's like a small spider cloth, a spider web tablecloth. And I cut a slit in the top of it, kind of like a poncho, and slipped that over her head. Now you want to start small with the cuts because if you've ever cut a t-shirt, you know what I'm talking about. You don't want to go too big at first. I cut the slits right in the center. And because this poncho has points on it, like from the spider web, I placed it over her head so that the points matched up so I could make her kind of a asymmetrical dress. So I pulled this over, pulled the pigtails out, and then I just simply cut ribbon. And I used the ribbon to tie the dress on. I really didn't want to have to do any sewing. I didn't want to glue too much onto the doll. I just wanted to create something pretty easy. Now, it had this heart stick, and I tried thinking of ways I could use this, but ultimately it just bothered me. No, I just tried to get, don't use scissors, Shelly. I was trying to cut the felt off of the stick, and so it wasn't coming off at all. So I just used my wire cutters, and that sucker was on there good. So I just used my wire cutters and cut the doll accessory off there. I have something else in mind here. So I took the dress and I pulled her little collar up so that I can slip the dress underneath. I want to utilize the collar and flip it up because it will give more of that Nadja Victorian kind of a ascot look. And here I'm just sort of bunching it around and trying to get it to where it pulls up, and then I can tie a ribbon. So I have a big collection of fabric, ribbon trimmings, seam tape, doilies, all kinds of things. So I just grabbed some seam tape that I already had in this sort of crimson red color. And I also have some vintage lace, the black lace, it's like a ribbon trim as well. So we're going to use those things just to tie the dress on. So I just simply tied this around her neck. You want to pull the lace up a little as you're tying the ribbon so that it is up above the ribbon so that when you tie it, you can then fluff it out. And here I'm just fluffing everything out so that it pulls up around the ribbon. And then I'm going to take the points of the little dress and I'm going to make sleeves out of that. So I'm just tucking down the collar now, just fluffing it to make it look nice. All right, and as you can see, there's little points that I was talking about on the spider web, and I'm taking a point on each side to make her sleeves. This is her Halloween costume, by the way. So I'm pulling it down so that the point of the sleeve meets the end of her hand. Her arms were very short, unfortunately, so it's okay. It's just a little cheap prop, but would have been nice if I'll try to see if I can find another doll and make a better version of this, but this one worked great for my costume. I think I want to find an actual porcelain doll and repaint it. And I'm going to just repeat that on the other side. And just tying little ribbons. And there she has instant sleeves. So when you pull up on this, you're going to get little puffy sleeves. Now this was not long enough to cover her legs. And I had thought to just cut the legs off. But I felt like if I wanted to set her up later, it might be difficult. I may still remove the legs on this. The legs were exaggerated long, and they kind of look like big plastic witchy boots on the bottom. But once I finished this, I actually decided to leave the legs on completely. I'm just taking that black lace and tying it around her waist to make a belt. I'm doing this very gingerly because this is very old, and I have pulled too hard on this before and it just breaks in half. So I'm just making her a little belt for the midsection of her dress, and then we'll be done with this part. And I'm just making sure I have all of the fabric kind of evenly spaced around the belt. This is just very simple. This doll, I think, was $12 maybe. I believe it was under $15. And you could really do this with any doll. This one worked pretty perfectly for this. As I was saying before, I think I will get a porcelain doll and repaint her to look like Nadja. I enjoyed this process so much. I'm pretty sure I could find something to work for her. Okay, so that's done. Now I have a piece of old lace tablecloth. No, I don't even know what this was. It was a valance or something. And I just cut a piece of that, and I'm gluing around the underside. I'm sorry she's not in a very dignified position here. I'm just gluing this to the underside, not sewing, just using a hot glue gun, and just gluing it to the underside of the original dress that was on this doll. Making her a longer skirt out of this cream colored lace. And you want to just turn the doll over in sections as you're doing this so that you don't bunch up this lace. And then I just cut it up at the back side, and voila, she's got a skirt. It was really that easy. Okay, so now that I have her dress longer and it's covering the legs, we're going to start working on her hair now. I will go back in later and add a skirt over this lace because this ended up kind of looking like a slip. I realized later. I literally put this doll together so quickly, about 2 hours before we were all set to go out trick-or-treating. And then I made a little bow for the top of her head. I couldn't find a hat that looked exactly like the hat that I found. I may try to make her a hat later because I could probably make her one out of paper mache that matches Nadja's hat. But for this, I just made a bow out of some black grosgrain ribbon that I had on hand. It was an older piece of ribbon, and I just made her a bow and put that on top of her head, and this gives her the illusion of kind of a big hairpiece, and I just hot glued that straight to the top of the doll's head. This doll has a very sweet face. Her eyes and her mouth are just embroidered on, so we need to give her more of a Nadja doll look. She's also got a very round, almost almond-shaped face, so we're going to need to create something that's a little squarer. And to make her face more detailed, I just used a fine tip Sharpie. You want to go on very lightly with this. I had thought to maybe paint, but I was afraid it would bleed, and this is just like a sock doll. It's a fabric doll, and so the Sharpie pen worked great. I just used a very light touch and just drew on her features, nose, mouth. I drew some eyebrows. It did really help give the illusion of more of the Nadja doll look. And I also went in with the yarn around her face, the hair, and glued it down to give the shape of her face a little squarer look. I may go back in with some eye makeup on here to give it a little more shading. I think paint will just look a little too thick on this fabric, but this worked pretty well. And now here I'm going in and gluing in the black feathers for the hair. And this is an idea that I had just because her hair is so black, and I had feathers on hand already from an old capelet, Halloween capelet. I think I got that at Spirit Halloween. And black feathers have this blue sheen to them, so it really gave the illusion of hair. I also created bangs for her using the black feathers, and I was a little nervous to cut them and trim them, but actually once I did that, it really brought the doll to life, and I think it turned out great. So I'm just going to continue to add feathers and really just give her hair, her feather hair, just a little bit more voluminous look. I think that it turned out great, and it was a good alternative to using a doll's wig or wig hair. I really do like this process of creating a doll. I've always kind of wanted to make dolls, and so this is kind of me just dipping my toe in it. I would like to find, like I said, a porcelain doll and repaint her. I think that would look amazing. So I'm going to be on the hunt for one that I can turn into my own Nadja doll. And here I'm just adding the feather bangs, and this part was probably the most difficult part, just trying to get enough feathers growing across all this sort of the same look. They need to be trimmed evenly, but the effect was overall really great. I'm glad that I tried this. So I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you know who Nadja is, and from What We Do in the Shadows. Anyone else here just a huge fan of the show? I absolutely love all of the characters. Matt Berry's Laszlo is also my favorite. They're just all so good. The show is funny and hysterical, has some very goofy, absurd, awkward scenarios, and they kind of stretch things to make it work in the plot. It's, you have to have this suspension of belief a lot of times, but it's just so funny. We're really enjoying it. So I think it's the first character from a TV show that's ever inspired me to do cosplay. So here are my dolls. Little bangs are looking so cute. Once I got her bangs on, she just really kind of came to life. Cutting those feathers though, if you guys do this, put a piece of paper or something between the doll and the feathers, because those little fibers from the feather were very difficult to get off of her face. So let me show you the reveal. She turned out so cute. Obviously, it's a simple, quick project for just a quick prop, but I'm very pleased at how she turned out. She's a little more sweet looking than the actual Nadja doll, but I think for a last minute prop, it turned out great. I love the little pumpkin I made for her hand. I kind of did that to conceal where we took that little heart wand off, and then a little skull and a bow for her hair with the little glittery leaves, and it just kind of adds a nice finishing touch. Overall, very happy. If you guys would like to see more of me outside of YouTube, I have a TikTok account, and I post there pretty regularly. And like and subscribe if you want to see more spooky fun content like this. And as always, thank you for watching and being here. I appreciate you. I love this character so much. It's one of my favorite TV shows, and it's the first TV show that has ever inspired me to do a cosplay. I'll show you how I look with the doll. And here's Nadja and her dolly. If you guys want to see more content from me, you can always follow me on TikTok. I post pretty regularly on there. Happy Halloween!